Hello, thanks for watching another random palm reading. This lady sent me her palms about 6 weeks ago via email. I know nothing about this lady apart from what she sent me in her email to me yesterday. And here she says she's 63, she married her husband in 2020, she's very health and finance conscious, and her current plan is to save like crazy for retirement. So she's not really interested in me reading anything about her past unless it's relevant. So I'm just going to look at health and finances with this reading. And one of the first things I notice is looking at the left hand. So this is how this person's thinking and feeling, her thoughts and feelings for the future and planning ahead. You can see here just on the inside of Venus, just above, sort of in between Venus and inner Mars. Venus is the lady of battle, so when we love someone, we fight for them. And this is why Venus is so close to inner Mars, because Mars is this area where we drive ourselves towards fighting for others, for ourselves, legal battles, immune system. This is where Mars is helpful. And if you look closely, you can see a little triangle just there. So that's the first thing that I noticed, and I'm going to get around to explaining that. And interestingly, that triangle is kind of inside another triangle, sort of. Anyway, it's a Mars line and a loyalty line that form, they're connected, and there's reasons for that. So I'll explain what that means. But remember, this is the left hand, this is introspection. This is how we are affected internally. This is what the palm shows us on the left hand. Now, in terms of finances, the left hand, if we look at the Mercury line, it's a little bit fragmented, it's a bit shot, and it tries to rise up, but it has difficulties, and there are several reasons for this, and this person it shows the way they're feeling about finances. This is a financial sort of struggle, and it's sometimes known as the liver line or the health line, and it rises up onto Mercury, which is why it's also known as predominantly the Mercury line. And as it does rise up onto the Mercury mount, this little line that's separate from the Mercury line, it is the last vestige of the Mercury line above the heart line. It's often known as the money line. And the Mercury line is a funny one because it's Beryl Hutchinson said that this was our unconscious headline, and so it's on the percussive side of the palm, the unconscious side of the palm. So it shows us how we sense in an unconscious way. It's our instincts, and so this is why it's often related to our ability to perceive and make choices in business, because it's our instincts. So this is quite often why it's linked to business. A lot of palmists will say, oh, you've got good instincts when they look at your Mercury line. You'll do well in business. And it's relevant depending on the individual. So what I do like to see here is that this person, although they've had struggles in terms of money before, what they think and feel about the future is relatively positive because of this line here. And this is what the left hand is showing. But the Mercury line is also known as the health line for a reason. It's both physical and mental, which is why it's such an enigmatic line. So on the right hand here, you can see the Mercury line, and it's a lot straighter. So this is number 2, and I'll get around to explaining this. And one of the differences I've noticed is the right hand Mercury mount has a lot more upward strokes than the left hand, so I'll explain what that means. Now, I've seen this on both the left and the right hand. There are several upward dashes on the tip of Mercury. The Sun, Apollo, or success line requires a bit of comparison on both the left and the right hand, and it stems from the heart line. I'll explain what that means. There is also a square on Jupiter. The left and the right hand show a difference in the lifeline here. If you can see, there's a line that comes from Venus, and as it does cross over the lifeline changes course. So I'll explain what that means. I'll show you here. Look, if you look closely, you'll see that it changes course as a change line comes through there, and you don't see the same thing on the left. Okay, it's not exactly the same thing that's happening there. The lifeline appears to stay on the same course on the right hand, sorry, which is the physical, the practical material. So that's my number 7, my point number 7. So the triangle, this is point number 1, by the way. So the triangle on the left hand Venus mount, in between Venus and inner Mars, shows us someone who is striving towards making finances. Triangles are never bad things, especially upwards facing triangles. It's a strong formation. It's got a good structure. It's not so much protective as it is. It's a fortunate and prosperous symbol. It's a symbol that shows strength. I think that's probably the best word. A triangle, it's going to cut through things, and it's not going to get broken easily. And a triangle on Venus is often seen on marriage counselors. It's seen on talk show hosts. Oprah Winfrey's got one. And it's seen on people's hands who, I mean, if we saw it lower down, I think it's seen on people's hands who marry into money. And they utilize their emotional awareness, their emotional intelligence, to create a revenue stream. And this is why it's often seen on psychologists, marriage counselors, and talk show hosts, people who facilitate complex emotional discussions, sensitive discussions, people who have that ability to facilitate and articulate in a way that, use diplomacy. But in this case, it shows, it's not always that complex. Sometimes it could just be that a teacher is highly aware of the emotions of their students, and so is able to keep them on an even keel so that they can progress, Or it could be that, in fact, this person is striving towards making finances with her husband. And I say this because it's a triangle within a triangle. Now, this loyalty line represents this person's devotion to her husband. And her husband is part of her future. This is the left hand now, so remember, this is how this person's thinking and feeling and planning ahead. And this person means a great deal to them, obviously. And this Mars line, is what we need to fight towards something. It's our immune system when we are recovering from an illness or a broken bone. It's our fire when we're fighting a legal battle or a literal, physical battles. If we are, an MMA athlete, or even just an athlete full stop, our bodies need to be on form. And when we are working, it's no different. So if we're working for finances, we're striving towards something, we're on a journey, and we're doing it, in this case, with our partner. So the two things are connected. This person's journey, which requires her physical strength, she's doing it with her husband. They're connected, and they're almost forming a triangle in itself. Which is shown here. They got kind of the back of it there because of this other little triangle that's inside it. So this is a really positive sign. They're forming a structure, some strength here, and this may well be have been a previous marriage. So working towards the same thing. And the fact we don't see that on the left probably shows us that this person isn't in fact a marriage counselor, or has in fact married for money. It shows us this person's thought process. Now, the second thing I wanted to go through was the mercury line. On the right hand, it's a lot straighter. On the left, we see it's quite sort of fragmented. It's veering off course. It overlaps in several places. There are issues, some health issues, some digestive issues, certainly. Remember, this is the unconscious mind, and our nervous system is part of that. It's linked. And our ability to instinctively, intuitively sense is linked with our nervous system. It's an unconscious decisions we make are fed into this system. And someone somewhere once said the first brain of the body is the gut, and we are what we eat. So it makes sense, and I think this person has in the past had health issues. However, they look more resolved now. We look on the right hand. This is more practical, more physical. They're less directly affected by their health now. I think that whatever health issues they have had have leveled out. And also what this certainly indicates, being that it's connected to the fate line quite strongly, this Mercury line, they are thinking about money. And this is also evident by this little line here. So it comes from the fate line initially, and as it passes through the headline, it becomes much stronger here, you can see. And so you can tell when a person has an upward stroke from their headline reaching up into outer Mars, it shows they're planning about their future in terms, financially speaking. They're thinking about money. And because it's on the right hand and not on the left, it shows that it's working. They are working towards what they want to. Their financial fortress is being built. The Mercury line is a funny one because it ties in with so many aspects. It's, as I've said, it's seen as an indicator for a person's instinctive abilities, but it's also a physical indicator as well. So this person wants to know about their finances and their health, and this line is both connected. It's connected to both of these things, and being that it's much more well formed. Oh, you can see another little flick there off the headline, which is exactly what I was saying before. Being that it's more well formed on the right hand is a positive sign. It's showing that this person's health and instinctive financial abilities are there. This person has keen instincts. Not only that, this brings me around to my third point. The many lines on Mercury, this person is a highly skillful person. And you can see that by the angle of proficiency on the thumb here as well. This person is highly adept with their hands. And over time, these are abilities, these are skills that this person has learned in her life. So the left shows us what we've inherited, the right shows us what we've, the skills we have gained, the things that have occurred to us over our lifetime. And it's said that the many close together lines on Mercury, especially with one coming through, so you need 3 lines and one coming through for it to be a fully formed sign of the healing stigmata. This is someone who is generally working in a field where they heal others, a doctor, a nurse, sometimes just a social worker or a carer, have these marks as well. And being that the fate line as well rises from Luna, this is another sign that someone is working in an industry, working with or for others, with an audience in some way. This is another sign that this person is helping others. Now, another note on health here. There are 3 or more upward strokes on the Mercury finger. This is, and I've seen them on both the left and the right hand, this is a sign, quite a strong indication really of a thyroid issue. Whether it's over or underactive, I can't really say. Now, often the cause for a thyroid an imbalance, thyroid imbalance, is due to metals in the blood, an imbalance of metals. And so a person with lots of fillings, lots of piercings, or a person even who wears lots of rings on their fingers and reacts badly to them, this reaction can create a thyroid issue, or even poor drinking water, overuse of aluminium, so in sort of cooking utensils. So I always advise against, the overuse of aluminium and getting a water filter. Omega-3 and sea kelp is good at detoxing the body of metal imbalances. I'm not entirely certain I see all that much of it here. There's a little bit of it going on. And where you can see metal imbalances in the blood shows up on the heart line, and it shows up as a kind of large sort of island, a sort of slug like this. The heart line thickens into one large island. And you can see it on the left hand, you can see it a little bit on the right, but not as much on the right, which is a good sign. That means this person their body is detoxing slowly. And as this person said, they're very health conscious, so I think that they understand their body very well, and I think they are already doing all the right things health-wise, I imagine. And you can see how Luna here hangs quite low down on the palm, and that's evident with anyone who is very health conscious, someone who understands their body very well. And you often see it in dancers, because they have to know their bodies well, athletes as well. Now, this person wants to know about their finances, so the success line or sun line or Apollo line certainly needs addressing and evaluating on both the left and the right hand. And we can see on the right hand that it's not as long. On the left, it actually stretches beyond the heart line. And so what this shows us is that this person's finances are probably not going as far as they should. Perhaps, I don't want to say more money's going out than in, but there's a lot of bills to pay, and there's still obligations at home, I suppose, to sort out. But what the success line does show is that, I mean, look, it's very deep, it's very strong, and it certainly strengthens after the age of 60. And it's supported by lines connected to the heart line. The success line is a symbol of a person's peace, prosperity, happiness. Yes, it's finances, but it's also a person's security and stability for the future ahead. And without those things, it's all meaningless. What's money for, after all, if we can't be happy, if we can't spend it, we can't use it? It's a tool, and if we can't enjoy it, we're not going to be happy. And so this shows this person's happiness, and it shows that they will be happy. It shows that their happiness has strong roots, supported by the heart line, by emotional relationships, supported by her husband and her family, which she should be, being that she's likely supporting them at the moment. It's only fair, isn't it? It's what we do. And you can see that as the success line grows, it strengthens and it branches outwards. And so you can view an ideal success line looking like this, because it has strong roots and it has branches. So it's reaching up towards the finger of prosperity, talents, happiness, and what makes us shine. That's what this finger represents. That's what Apollo in general represents. It's what makes us shine. It's the sunshine in our life. And this finger, the energies coming through it are reaching down and providing this little tree with all of the sunlight that it needs. So the left hand here really shows us how hard this person is working and how much their energy and effort they're putting into making their paving the way for prosperity, for their future. And the right shows us the more kind of what's going to happen with that, with that plan, and it's working. It's all good news. Now, there's a square on Jupiter. There you go. And there's also one on the left hand as well. And this is often known as the teacher's square. It shows us someone who is in a position where they are imparting information. And it makes sense that being this person's in her early 60s, you get to a career role, whether or not you've worked your way up in the hierarchy of things, where you are so well known and respected that you are passing on and teaching others in the workplace, even if you're at the same level. And that might be what's happening here. But I do think that this person is a teacher of sorts, potentially working in social care or a nurse. I don't really know, but I do know that they are very gifted with their hands. And the teacher square is often a sign of authority and a good sign of judgment as well in a person, their moral judgment as well. And this is seen by, I mean, the fingers are very well developed here. And I do love reading the palms of people who have lived somewhat, because it's all there. This person's father probably wasn't there for them as they should have been emotionally, and they were probably criticized quite a bit when they were young. However, they've made a great deal of what they've been given, the cards they've been dealt. Now, my final kind of note here that I wanted to make was on the Mars line. Actually, before I get around to that, let's explain, I almost forgot, what this means here, this change line coming through the lifeline here. Now, being that it's on the left hand, it shows a desire to travel, shows a strong desire to travel. But on the right, we don't see that. So I'm wondering if this person's plans to travel abroad, if that's what this is, doesn't actually come to light for whatever reason. However, at the age of around, we can see that, I mean, what have we got here? Late 40s. We've got a travel line anyway. And that was probably some sort of shorter distance travel. But we can see it around the age of the person is now, perhaps late 50s. We can see this great effort line here. And it's reaching up towards Mercury. My examples are terrible. And that's the place of learning. It's a place of skills and memory, but it's also reaching up towards outer Mars, and that's this, again, this place of planning and this place of where we want to, build our financial fortress. So you can see that that's what this person's doing at this point in her life. And there's another little brick, so to speak, added to this financial fortress a little bit later on. So perhaps that's another future investment. And so that's what I kind of wanted to mention on the lifeline. Now the Mars line here, this is my final note that I want to make on this palm reading. And it's relevant because the Mars line, as I say, we need strength when we're pushing towards, when we're struggling, when we're on a journey towards our goals, and we need that energy, we need that immune system. And so when, this is an excellent Mars line, by the way, and it's often known as a guardian angel line, and people with it have sometimes somehow kind of scathed out of situations where they probably should have died. And so that's why it's kind of known as this guardian angel line, this assistance in helping us get through. And it almost appears as a double lifeline, and I would say that it is a double lifeline had it been joined, but it's not. It runs inside the lifeline and it runs parallel. It's a Mars line. But where the Mars line runs out, where it ceases to continue, is where our immune system begins to fade. And it's when our constitution begins to deteriorate. So it's at this point in our life that we need to be mindful of, we need to really look after ourselves, is what I'm trying to say. And that's in this person's late 60s, perhaps 68. This is when her Mars line begins to dissipate, and it's this secondary sort of investment. Perhaps it's a conservatory, I don't know, but it's around this time when this person really needs to look after themselves, think about themselves, just be selfish, look after number one. I think you've done a lot of looking after everybody else, and now it's time to look after you. You can still get on with whatever creative projects you're getting on with, because I know that's what you're doing, and that's healthy, that's all good, but just look after yourself. I don't foresee any particularly impactful or noteworthy health issues for the future that crop up. It's just more a matter around just looking after yourself after this time. Really concentrate on you, me time. And that's everything for this reading. It's quite a pleasant read, really. And I'm sure there's things I've not picked up on here. If there are things that others have picked up on here and you want to mention them, or if you disagree with what I've said, or maybe you just enjoy it, drop me a comment. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.